It usually starts with something so small you almost ignore it. Your dog doesn't rush to the door this time. No excited footsteps, no tail hitting the wall, just silence. The food you left earlier is still sitting there, untouched, as if time paused while you were gone. You call their name once, maybe twice, nothing changes. And suddenly, that small detail doesn't feel small anymore. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. Maybe they're tired, maybe they just had a long day, but then you start noticing more, the way they move slower, the way they avoid your eyes, the way they choose the darkest corner in the room instead of the place right next to you. And that's when something shifts inside you, because this doesn't feel like a mood, it feels like something deeper, something you can't quite explain. Most people assume dogs change like this because they're sad or stubborn or just acting strange. But what if that's not what's happening at all? What if those quiet moments, the distance, the silence, are actually your dog trying to deal with something you can't see? Because when a dog gets sick, the change doesn't just happen in their body, it happens in their mind, in their instincts, in the way they understand the world around them. And the truth is, most owners don't realize what their dog is really trying to say until much later. So the real question is not just what's wrong with your dog. It's this: do you understand what they're going through before it's too late? And this is where most people misunderstand what's really happening. When a dog gets sick, it doesn't just affect the body, it changes the way they experience the world. Dogs don't understand illness the way humans do. They don't think in terms of diagnosis, recovery, or time, but that doesn't mean they don't know something is wrong. They feel it, the weakness that wasn't there before, the way simple movements suddenly take more effort, the quiet discomfort that doesn't go away. And here's the part most people never realize. What your dog feels isn't just physical, it's biological. In animal behavior science, researchers describe something called sickness behavior. It was studied extensively by scientists like Benjamin Hart at the University of California, Davis. When animals become ill, their brain doesn't react randomly. It actively changes behavior. Energy drops, appetite decreases, social interaction fades, not because the animal is giving up, but because the body is trying to conserve resources and focus on recovery. In other words, your dog isn't acting strange. Their brain is shifting priorities. What used to matter, play, movement, excitement, suddenly becomes less important than rest, less important than survival. That's why your dog may stop playing, stop eating, or seem distant. It's not a personality change. It's a system response. And without words, without understanding why, your dog is left with one simple awareness. Something inside them isn't right, and they can feel it long before you can see it. And this is where the behavior starts to feel confusing. Because from the outside, those two reactions look completely opposite. Distance feels like rejection, closeness feels like love, but in reality, they are driven by the same internal signal: uncertainty. When a dog's body no longer feels predictable, their instincts take over in very specific ways. In animal behavior science, this is often linked to survival patterns seen across species. A sick animal doesn't react randomly. It either reduces exposure or increases attachment. Those that withdraw are following an ancient rule: stay quiet, stay hidden, conserve energy. In the wild, weakness attracts attention, and attention can be dangerous. So the safest move is to disappear. Not emotionally, physically. That's why your dog may choose the darkest corner, the smallest space, the place where nothing disturbs them. It's not because they don't want you. It's because their body is telling them to protect what little energy they have left. But then there are dogs who move closer instead. They follow you from room to room, sit near you, watch you more than usual, not because they suddenly became needy, but because you are the one thing that still feels stable. Research in canine cognition shows that dogs use their owners as a secure base, similar to how children rely on a caregiver in unfamiliar or stressful situations. When everything inside them feels uncertain, they move toward the one thing they trust most. So whether your dog is pulling away or staying closer than ever, they are responding to the same thing: a world that no longer feels safe. And Once you understand those two reactions, there's another behavior that often gets misunderstood even more. The moment a dog that has always been gentle suddenly changes, they growl, they snap, they pull away when you try to touch them. And that's usually the moment people get scared, because it doesn't feel like the same dog anymore. It feels like something is wrong with their personality. But this is where most people get it completely wrong. Pain doesn't change who your dog is, it changes what they need. When a dog is in pain, their body becomes a place they can no longer trust. Movements feel unpredictable. Touch feels different. Even something as simple as a hand reaching toward them can trigger discomfort. And when that happens, the brain reacts before they even think. Protect it. In veterinary behavior science, this is known as defensive aggression. Not aggression driven by dominance or anger, but by protection. The dog is not trying to hurt you, it's trying to stop the pain before it happens again. That's why a dog may pull away from your hand, even if that same hand has always meant comfort. Not because they stop trusting you, but because in that moment, their body feels unsafe. And instinct always prioritizes safety over affection. You might see it in small ways. A flinch when you touch a certain spot, a low growl when you get too close, a sudden tension in their body that wasn't there before. These aren't random reactions. They are warnings. Not, stay away from me, but that hurts. And once you start seeing it that way, something changes. Because what looked like rejection was actually the only way they knew how to tell you something was wrong. And after those bigger changes, there are smaller signs that are even easier to miss. The quiet ones. The ones that don't feel urgent at first. Maybe your dog eats a little less than usual. Maybe they leave half their food behind or walk away from the bowl without finishing. Their energy drops, but not all at once. It fades slowly, in a way that's easy to explain away. Just tired. Just a long day. But then you start to notice other things. They shift positions more often, unable to get comfortable. Or they stay completely still for long periods, as if moving takes too much effort. Some dogs begin to shake slightly, not from cold, but from discomfort they can't release. Others start licking the same spot again and again, focusing on one place like they're trying to fix something you can't see. Even their routine begins to change. Sleeping at different times, waking up in the middle of the night, having accidents in places they've never used before. None of these behaviors feel dramatic on their own. That's what makes them easy to ignore. But together, they form a pattern. And that pattern is your dog trying to tell you something without words. Not loudly, not clearly, but consistently. Something doesn't feel right. And when you step back and look at all of this together, the picture becomes clearer in a way that most people don't expect. What looks like sadness, distance, or even strange behavior isn't random at all. It's communication. Quiet, subtle, but deeply meaningful. Your dog isn't trying to push you away, and they aren't becoming a different animal. They're responding in the only way they know how to something their body no longer understands. They feel the change. They sense that something isn't right. And everything you see on the outside is just the surface of that experience. So if you ever find yourself in that moment, when your dog seems different, slower, quieter, don't rush to fix it or force them back to normal. Just be there. Sit with them. Stay close if they come to you, and give them space if they move away. Because in the end, what matters most to them isn't that you understand everything. It's that you're there. And sometimes, that quiet presence, more than anything else, is what makes them feel safe, even when nothing else does.